Hello everybody, and this video tonight we're going to talk all about one thing that you just have never got enough of in your weight shop, and that is these things, clamps or cramps, whatever you want to call them. So we're going to take a look at all the different types of cramps or clamps that you might need in your weight shop. Now, when you talk clamps, there's tons of different ones you'll see on the market. There's tons of different types of clamp, and then there's tons of different makes of clamp. So what's the best clamps to start with in your weight shop? So in my weight shop, there's round about, I can see here, probably about half a dozen different clamps that I use regularly in the weight shop. So I'm going to run you through these clamps and tell you which ones that you need and which ones you probably don't need in your weight shop. So the first one we're going to start with is the most traditional one, I think, which is this. Most woodworkers will know this is a G cramp because it looks like a G. Now this is a Stanley one. As I say, you can get tons of different makes. You can get tons of different sizes. I've got these over on the right there, going from small ones like this right up to big sort of 9 or 10 inch G cramps. Get yourself an half decent quality one. As I say, this is a Stanley one. What you will find with the cheaper ones is the threads won't work very well, and when you're trying to cramp something up and you've only got one hand spare, you'll really be struggling to get the cramps on and off. I've had these G cramps probably about 15 years and they still work just as good as the day I brought them. So that's the G cramp, and if I was starting a weight shop today, yes, the G cramp would be in that weight shop. Now let's move on to this one. This is what's called a speed clamp. What you've got here is just a flat bar, and then you've got a pump action handle, a bit like a silicone gun or cartridge gun, very similar to that. So you just pump it, close it, you press this little button there to release it. The mediocre on pressure, these, you can't get loads of pressure on, but you could normally get enough just to close the joint up while the adhesive goes off. One good feature about this one as well is not all the speed clamps can do this, so it's a good idea to have a look when you're purchasing a speed clamp. You can undo this screw there, and you can take that off, and what you do is you put it on the other end, and you can actually use the speed clamp then, not as a clamp, as actually to open something, or you can put it on like a weight top to lift a unit up off the weight top and things like that. So you can actually use it as a spreader as well as a clamp. Now, not all speed clamps do this, so as I say, just have a look if it's got these ends that you can remove and reverse. And if it has, then definitely go for those. And the speed clamp, yes, I probably would put it in the weight shop. It also comes in different sizes, just like the G clamp. That's one, I think that's probably about that opens to a maximum 150mm or 6 inch in old money. And then you've got a smaller one here, which I think opens to about 100mm, just small work. So that's the speed clamp. And as I say, yes, I would definitely at least have a couple of these kicking about. They're not expensive. And as you say, make sure you get one with the removable ends, and then you've always got the option to use it as a spreader as well as a clamp. And going on from the speed clamp, you go on to these spring clamps. Again, available in different sizes. There you can see that's classed as a 6 inch. I think that's classed as a 4 inch. These are so handy, so handy. They're very inexpensive. These are decked on, like these speed clamp I showed you earlier. That's a decked on as well. If you haven't heard of decked on tools, check them out. They're not sponsoring this video or anything, but I use them. They kindly sent me some stuff to try, and I was really impressed with it. And I use it all the time in the weight shop now. But it's a brand that's not as well known as some of the big boys. So decked on tools. It's DEKTON tools. So have a look at those if you haven't. They do a vast array of tools, and I can't knock the quality. Brilliant. I've had them in the weight shop quite a while now. I've not had any issues with them at all. So, and again, yes, I probably would have a few of these kicking about in the workshop. You will use them. They're just brilliant for holding, clamping things together just while the adhesive goes off. Now the next one that we're going to look at is this one. Now this is also sometimes called a speed clamp or a ratchet clamp. It's basically the same sort of mechanism as the mold grips you get, where you lock them and then you've got a little lever there to release them. You've got an adjustable screw there which widens the jaw of them. What I tend to use these for especially is if you're gluing boards together like this, right? And the edge of the board there is stepped, it's not level. Very often I'll cramp them across the board, but then I'll also put one of these like that on the joint so it holds the two boards flush. So they're really handy for that. You do also use them for things like pocket holes. The Trend pocket hole jig normally comes with one of these, a smaller version of this one. This one's a Craig one, this one's a Craig one, and as again, this I think this came with a Craig pocket hole machine we brought once. But I've got 2 or 3 of these kicking about in the workshop. Really handy. Don't stress if you haven't got any. But if you get the chance to pick any of these up at a reasonable price, then definitely I'd look at something like, say, Craig or Trend, something like that. There's loads of brands, but don't buy cheap ones, because in the past, years ago, I did purchase some cheap ones of these, and they're terrible. They don't lock properly or anything. So try and get off decent clamps if you can. If you pay that little bit more for them, you haven't got to spend a fortune. You will find they'll serve you well and last you a lot longer. Then the final clamp we're going to look at is this one. Now this is a sash clamp or bar clamp. Sometimes flat like these. These are record ones. I've had these donkey's years, but these are like a flat bar. You can get ones that are tubular as well. Come in loads of different lengths. These right down to sort of little short 18-inch or 450mm ones, and they go right up to normally 6-8 feet long. You can also join 2 together if you need to do larger pieces of work. Again, try and buy half decent quality ones. I've had these before when I've only been able to get hold of really cheap ones, and the bar here tends to be hollow aluminium, which is terrible. It just creases and bends, and once your cramp is bent, you'll find it'll cause you a nightmare. It'll be pulling your weight piece out of the line while you're trying to cramp it up. So always try and get half decent sash cramps, like any of the cramps I've just shown you. Always invest that little bit more. You don't have to spend a fortune. Just go sort of, just go for something that's half decent quality. Things to look for when you're buying a sash cramp is the travel of the thread, just to see how much adjustment you've got on it. Some cheaper ones only have a very small amount of adjustment on them. Sometimes it'll have like an handle rather than a screw thread. It'll have like a locking handle. They're pretty good as well, but you don't get a lot of movement on them. So it's things like that to consider when you're buying sash cramps. Personally myself, I love the screw ones like this. I love the flat bar ones. I like a good, solid, heavy cramp that's going to hold your weight piece, and you're just going to get better results. So I hope that's helped you out. As I say, it's an essential part of having a workshop. You're going to need some cramps, whatever you want to say. You're going to need some in the workshop. The must-haves, again, at least have a couple of sash cramps, a couple of G cramps, possibly a couple of speed clamps, and a couple of these little spring clamps. And you won't go far wrong. If you want to know anything else about clamps or cramps or brands that do all these cramps, then just drop me a message or post in the comments and I'll come straight back to you, I promise. And if you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more, you know what to do. Make sure you subscribe, hit that like, share, comment, and I'll see you lot on the next video.